Caps for sale. Once there was a peddler who sold caps, but he was not like any ordinary peddler, carrying his wares on his back. He carried them on top of his head. First, he had on his own checkered cap, then a bunch of gray caps, and then a bunch of brown caps, and then a bunch of blue caps, and on the very top, a bunch of red caps. He walked up and down the streets, holding himself very straight so that not to upset his caps. As he went along, he called, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. He walked up the street and he walked down the street, calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." But nobody wanted any caps that morning. Nobody wanted even a red cap. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch. "I think I'll go and walk into the country," he said. And he walked out of town slowly, so not to upset his caps. He walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. "That's a nice place for a rest," thought he. And he sat down very slowly under the tree and leaned back a little by little against the tree trunk, so not to disturb the caps on his head. Then he put up his hand and to feel that they were all straight. First his own checkered cap, then the blue caps, then the red caps on the very top. They were all there. So he went to sleep. He slept for a long time. When he woke up, he was refreshed and rested. But before standing up, he felt with his hand to make sure all his caps were right in place. All he felt was his own checkered cap. He looked right to the right of him, no caps. He looked to the left of him, no caps. He looked behind the back of him, no caps. He looked behind the tree, no caps. And then he looked up into the tree, and what do you think he saw? On every branch sat a monkey. On every monkey was a gray or a brown or a blue or a red cap. The peddler looked at the monkeys. The monkeys looked at the peddler, and he didn't know what to do. And finally he spoke to them. "You monkeys, you," he said, shaking his finger at them. "You give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their fingers at him and said, "Tis, tis, tis." This made the peddler angry, and so he shook both of his hands at them and said, "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their hands back at him and said, "Tis, tis, tis." Now he felt quite angry, and he stamped his foot, and he said, "You monkeys, you better give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped their feet back at him and says, "Tis, tis, tis." By this time, the peddler was really very, very angry. He stamped both of his feet and he shouted, "You monkeys, you must give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped both of their feet back at him and says, "Tis, tis, tis." Last, he became so angry that he pulled off his own cap and threw it on the ground and began to walk away. Then each monkey pulled off his cap, and all the gray caps, and all the brown caps, and all the blue caps, and all the red caps came flying down out of the tree. So the peddler picked up his caps, put them back on his head, first his own checkered cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, and then the red caps on the very top. And slowly, slowly, he walked back to town calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." The end.